Thanks for joining us. I'm Kim Christensen.
I'm Kyle Clark. Former CBI analyst Missy Woods is now facing more than 100 charges related to manipulating data in hundreds of cases.
We have team coverage tonight. We begin with 9 News reporter Colton Chavez outside the Jefferson County Jail. Colton?
Kim, Missy Woods turned herself in here earlier today. In her arrest affidavit, it details the charges that she's facing, as well as some examples of the cases that she impacted. Missy Woods is now the center of a criminal investigation after she was accused of manipulating data in more than 800 cases over her decades-long career. According to an arrest affidavit, the Colorado Bureau of Investigation asked the South Dakota Division of Criminal Investigation to look into Woods. Those investigators are now recommending charges that include perjury, attempt to influence a public servant, forgery, and cybercrime. CBI says it started in 2023 when one of their interns reported that Woods' conclusions were missing certain aspects of test data. Their investigation found hundreds of cases going as far back as 2008. Among the hundreds of cases, the affidavit details 58, 38 of which involved sexual assault. The documents accuse Woods of deleting specific values in samples in cases of sexual assault, meaning she falsely reported no male data present when other test results showed there was at least some amount of male DNA present. When asked by special agents, Woods could not indicate how many times she reported this falsely. The affidavit says in all kinds of cases where Woods manipulated and deleted data, fraudulent reports were sent to 24 law enforcement agencies. Woods told special agents her reason for manipulating data was expedience. CBI says they're reevaluating hundreds of cases going back years, and Woods has cost them over $11 million. And Woods is currently being held on a $50,000 cash-only bond, but she is expected to make her first appearance in court here tomorrow. Now joining us is 9 News reporter Ria Jha. And Ria, you were looking at some of the wider impacts when it comes to these charges against Missy Woods.
Yeah, Colton, we now know dozens of cases were never even filed because of the lack of evidence due to Woods' alleged data manipulation. I spoke with our 9 News legal analyst who said the cases involved that are active or pending won't be difficult to start over, but for cases that were never even filed, he said it could take decades to sort out, if at all.
Any court case depends on evidence.
Even a small amount of male DNA might have been the difference between a credibility decision or not on a sexual assault.
We are just beginning to understand the impacts after former CBI analyst Missy Woods admitted to manipulating data.
And if in fact the CBI report came back and said, well, there was no male DNA at all, that's really going to affect their perception of the credibility of the victim.
What 9 News legal analyst Scott Robinson is referring to is more than 35 out of 58 cases listed in the arrest affidavit where Woods falsely reported no existence of male DNA in sexual assault cases.
Why does that matter? Because in those cases, no criminal case was filed.
Robinson says this is new. We now know it's possible that people who should have been charged have walked free.
We can count on there being multiple efforts to get convictions thrown out. But what we can't do is resurrect the cases that were not filed. But the statute of limitations may have run, witnesses and victims may have moved, died. Try to resurrect some of these cases that go back to 2001, and in one instance, 1996. Is going to be impossible for most prosecutors.
No matter the outcome of Woods' case, that means victims or survivors may not have a way to move their cases forward.
One of the problems is that samples do deteriorate over time. And if there was only a small amount of male DNA in a sample in 2001, it's highly unlikely that there'll be less, if any, now.
Robinson said Woods' defense team could choose to argue that she was only misreporting the DNA samples that were so small the outcome of those cases would have been the same, and retesting might support that. Robinson said, however, that won't matter because the crime is the act of misreporting, not the outcome. Woods' attorney declined to comment. Live in the newsroom, Ria Jha, 9 News.
We're following breaking news out of San Antonio, where 4 police officers were shot tonight. They were responding to what the police chief called a suicide in progress. The chief believes all of the officers will survive. Police are now trying to take the shooter into custody. We'll bring you updates when we learn more.
It's a cold and windy day around town today. We've got a similar setup tomorrow, and then things should get real interesting for the weekend. Let's bring in meteorologist Kathy Sabin for a preview of coming attractions.
For perspective, it won't be like the Arctic front that we just endured, but we do have light snow coming in on Saturday. In the meantime, a busy week. We had a weather system cross the state today and another one coming in tomorrow. The winds were gusty with the initial system, but much calmer tonight. We had some snow showers across the foothills and northeastern plains. Things are relatively calm, but chilly. We're at 20 degrees in Denver right now, 22 in Greeley, and 25 in Fort Collins. As the winds shift out of the southwest, those numbers may come up a little bit, but wind chill is still certainly a factor for many areas tonight and will be tomorrow morning. Snow showers ending from the northwest toward the southeast. The next system will move in from the north. Light snow in the mountains, but not enough that we have winter weather or travel advisories posted. And I think with a little more sunshine tomorrow, our afternoon high temperatures, while chilly, may tick up a few degrees warmer than the numbers we saw today. This is the temperature trend over the next few hours, and your weather headlines include the possibility of additional ground blizzard conditions and blowing snow in the mountains and foothills tonight and tomorrow. More on the timing and impact of that coming up.
Aurora Public Schools says internet is back on for most schools after a week-long outage that affected security systems. However, some district staff say the outages are still affecting their jobs.
9 News reporter Spencer Soysher has been on this like white on rice. And Spencer, these staff members keep coming forward with their concerns because they say they just want to understand what's happening and they want to make sure the kids are safe.
Yeah, that's the concern. Last night, the superintendent for Aurora Public Schools told us things were fixed more than a week after its IT team noticed some suspicious activity and then shut down their systems. Now APS employees say they're concerned and frustrated because critical programs are still not working.
The internet and the phone services have been restored to our schools and our district sites.
At Tuesday night's Aurora Public School Board meeting, APS Superintendent Mike Giles made an announcement that parents and teachers had waited for more than a week to hear.
Of course, there are some glitches in some areas.
A half dozen employees from around the district tell 9 News those glitches are still making it harder to do their jobs.
I mean, it wasn't functional at all. Like I couldn't get in, I couldn't access anything.
A district staff member who works in the schools tells 9 News the program Infinite Campus is still affected.
Grades, attendance, any kind of learning plans, IEPs.
This staff member spoke with us on the condition we wouldn't share her name or face because she fears retaliation for contradicting the district.
So far, the communication has been, we're going to get this up and running as soon as possible, and it will be very soon. You need to worry. We've got it under control.
We asked Giles Tuesday about that communication. Is there a reason that you guys have been a little bit quieter about this than maybe most districts would be when it's just an outage?
You know, it's funny to me that you say we've been quiet because I feel like we've been communicating every day and providing updates.
The staff we spoke with and the district say internet is back in most spots and needed programs like Google Classroom are accessible again. In a statement to 9 News, APS said in part, we still have some programs that are not available, but our technology team remains focused on restoring those as soon as possible. They went on to, quote, acknowledge that many of our staff and community members may feel frustrated. It has been a challenging time. Program issues aside, parents and teachers say they're worried sensitive student or employee data could have been stolen. We don't have any evidence that that's happened yet, but we asked the superintendent about this last night. He told us they're still looking into that too, but they don't know yet. Spencer Soysher, 9 News.
People who work for one of Colorado's most prominent nonprofits working on homelessness say they want to unionize. This is at the Colorado Coalition for the Homeless. SEIU Local 105 says 87% of the employees in the Housing Supportive Service Department at that nonprofit voted for a union. Last year, workers complained of high turnover and low pay. The Colorado Coalition for the Homeless says it's committed to working with the union in collective bargaining.
A teenage girl who shot 5 people in downtown Denver will spend years in juvenile detention. Today, a judge sentenced 18-year-old Kiana Rosenberg to 7 years. In September of 2023, she tried to use someone else's ID to get into Whiskey Row, a bar on Market Street. After a bouncer refused to let her in, she pulled out a gun and opened fire into a crowd of people. They all survived. Rosenberg pleaded guilty to 1 count of attempted murder. She apologized in court today, calling what she did a mistake.
There are Coloradans who got texts saying they have an unpaid highway toll out of Massachusetts, and they're like, I have never been inside the Massachusetts.
It's a long drive.
Sure.
It takes a while. 9 News reporter Janelle Finch joins us now. And Janelle, these texts are a scam.
That's absolutely right. Today is the first day that I didn't get these texts this week. It claims I have unpaid tolls through the Massachusetts tolling system. An obvious red flag to me because I've never been inside the Massachusetts. But computer science experts say scammers are getting better at getting sensitive information. Dr. Beatty, when it comes to these unpaid parking toll scams, are people really falling for these?
I think people are, and it's hard not to be honest with you. They look legit, and so it's difficult to tell the good from the bad.
One little click can be a big mistake.
All of these things are interrelated, and so we need to be very, very careful, as always, about the links we click in and the information we give out.
Dr. Steve Beatty is a computer science professor at MSU Denver. He says smishing is on the rise in scamming popularity.
And it's called smishing because it's SMS, short message services.
A smishing scam now hitting Colorado cell phones appears to come from EZDriveMA. The state's Stop Fraud Colorado, an extension of the Attorney General's office, has issued alerts for this specific scam. They point out the unknown number, out-of-state company, and sketchy link.
That is an obvious smishing site. You know, some of them aren't as obvious as the one we see.
Like the Dottie unpaid parking scam that impacted some drivers in Colorado last week, Denver's Department of Transportation and Infrastructure had to publicly address the text impersonating their office. Dottie says it didn't send the message and doesn't send texts about parking tickets.
Some number of people are going to click and it's like, yeah, I did park downtown. I did go on that toll road, these sorts of things at some point or another. Think about, did I really do this? Is this, is this legit?
Beatty says while the act of giving up sensitive data is easy,
links can never be trusted.
It's just as easy to keep your clicks to yourself.
There's two rules. One is don't click the links. And the second rule is see rule number 1.
The Massachusetts Department of Transportation says the FBI is aware of the scam. According to the Internet Crime Complaint Center, the agency received more than 2,000 reports in 1 month of fake toll service texts. The FBI says if you get a text, report it to the complaint center, then delete it. Janelle Finch, 9 News.